Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another live session on the DataMiner xOps platform. DataMiner xOps platform is a platform designed to transform companies, cities, and industries to become agile, data-driven ecosystems. And today I will explain you everything about what that means exactly. But I want to explain to you also how that applies to an entire new vertical that we see emerging everywhere around us. And we call it smart ecosystems. Skyline is a very established company. We have a tremendous track record. Data miner platforms are used all over the world. And our roots go back to complex ecosystems, satellite operators, media operators, network providers, service providers. They manage with data miner the most complex and the most vital fabric in our entire world. Infrastructure that is very critical for all kinds of services. But today we will talk about smart ecosystems. And why? Because they are basically going through the same phases where they become more and more data-driven. And when I talk about smart ecosystems, I'm talking about all kinds of environments. On one hand, that could be about facilities and venues, different campuses, business parks, commercial real estate, offices, shopping, residential, entertainment, and event venues, for example, but also the industrial space. Factories, manufacturing plants, for example, mining and heavy industry, oil and gas infrastructure, logistics, supply chain hubs, industrial farming operations, also smart cities. More and more cities are investing in digital technology. Municipalities, governments, public spaces, city services, for example. It's about traffic management, urban mobility, public safety, surveillance. Everything is being digitized. And last but not least, transportation and hubs. Airports and seaports, for example, are increasingly more investing in digital technologies to basically digitize their entire ecosystem. So when we talk about smart ecosystems, it's really about this fascinating new world that is merging around us. But they are very, very similar to all the other types of environments that we have always worked in. And that's what we will today start with. We will talk about, what kind of new world is emerging and what is important for you, whether you're a smart city or you're responsible for a seaport, for example, or an airport or an industrial manufacturing, multi-site facilities. No matter what it is, it all boils down to the same thing. And the xOps proposition applies to all those different domains because it's really about the fundamental change that we see everywhere in the world. And what is it that you will take away from this session? When it comes to smart ecosystems and a solution like DataMiner, the xOps platform, it's all about reshaping that infrastructure of tomorrow. So this is relevant both for the owners of smart ecosystem type of environments. Again, people that run energy as a service, people that run seaports or smart cities or multi-site manufacturing facilities, but it's also for the builders. So for owners, this is a game-changing technology because number one, it allows you to fast-track your digital transformation. We will talk about that in just a second. Digital transformation is not a goal by itself. You want to move on as quickly as possible and become a data-driven entity, an entity that can flourish in this new world. So for owners, the xOps proposition is really all about getting digital transformation done fast, quickly, and efficiently, and start really creating that agile, data-driven powerhouse, and to start delivering real value, the real proposition, the real value that all the new technology is going to offer us. It's also very relevant for builders because obviously these are environments that involve a lot of different technologies and different expertises. So there's a lot of system builders out there, solution architects, consultants, engineers, integrators, etc. And they all basically work on designing and building these ecosystems. The xOps proposition, the DataMiner xOps proposition, is all about giving those builders the opportunity to design and build and deliver faster and more cost efficient than ever before. And on top of that, you would see as a builder that all these environments, the outcome of it, the result of it, is going to be far more impressive and unique in terms of the actual outcomes and what you want to achieve. So you can really impress customers with a unified vision on how a data-driven world is working within a smart city, within a manufacturing environment, whatever it may be. And for builders, it's also a unique opportunity. It's even an opportunity in the sense that you can unlock new opportunities to evolve your business. Because I'm not going to make it too extensive, but obviously working with the DataMiner platform as a builder, you can generate revenue by reselling licenses and subscriptions and all the classic revenue that you typically have as a system integrator or reseller. But the DataMiner xOps proposition goes beyond that, because today for a company that has a certain expertise and knowledge, it's also about being able to consider delivering your knowledge and expertise, not just, simply as a consultancy job, but basically to start packaging it as a solution and bring it to the market as a solution, and to deliver that expertise and that knowledge in a much more scalable manner as compared to classic consultancy, for example. We even see a big trend in the industry where system builders actually start leveraging DataMiner to deliver as a service. So meaning that a builder, for example, can take full ownership of a DataMiner platform to create and design solutions for smart city, for manufacturing, and resell those and deliver those as a service to its customer base. And of course, gives you also a very privileged and strategic partnership with your accounts. DataMiner xOps is a very, very key technology, strategic technology to make that digital ambition work for all these different companies. So this is a very, very interesting proposition, both for the owners of a smart ecosystem as well as the builders that are creating these new environments. But let's get started with first things first. Number one, to start with, the sun is setting on digital transformation, okay? Digital transformation is not going to last forever. It's a transformation. It's going to take us from one era into another era. And we need to really stop talking about digital transformation. We need to understand that we come from the digital era, and the digital era is where we were installing all these new digital technologies in different pockets, in different areas, new machines that are connected and generate more data, more sensors, for example, a traffic management system, whatever it may be. We were installing and kind of working with all these systems separately. The digital transformation is all about moving us into the data-driven era. And this is a true transformation. This is like going from a branch, like the caterpillar that you see over there, and moving into the sky and transforming in an entire new entity with new properties and features and capabilities to basically flourish in that new environment. And we are already there. We are already in the data-driven era. You see more and more companies, startup companies, that basically are data-driven native companies. And they're fundamentally different as compared to classic companies. Because again, this is a transformation that affects pretty much everything that you can think of. So we go from an era where we have seen evolution, more advanced sensors, for example, more advanced machinery, going from connectivity based on serial interfaces, Modbus to Modbus TCP, and all kinds of evolutions. But again, now we are basically going through a major transformation, and where it's no longer about digitizing certain pockets and certain environments, but bringing together everything into one unified, living and breathing data-driven entity. And that applies, again, for everybody out there. Whether you're a smart city or a seaport, whatever it may be, you have to become a complete, unified, living and breathing, data-driven entity. And, looking at it in a digital era, again, just to kind of highlight that, we have been kind of putting things together in pockets, investing in different departments, different areas, deploying some new technology left and right. And I think already, there's been in the past maybe 5 to 10 years a need and a desire to start connecting things together. And that's what a lot of people have been doing, connecting different systems together to make data kind of flow from one system to another, to be able to get more than just those point solutions and bring everything together. But again, we're talking about a big, major transformation. This is not about evolving anymore. This is not about trying to take that caterpillar and change its properties so that it becomes a butterfly, okay, give it some wings or something like that. No, this is really about fundamentally rethinking and reshaping your entire organization. This is not even only about technology, it's even about organization and the way you do things. But nevertheless, this transformation is now going into this era where we talk about xOps. And again, xOps is really about saying, hey, we need to become a unified data-driven entity where data flows much more easily and is completely abstracted from whatever we have in terms of our infrastructure and how we work. And this really right across live technology data, this is important, live technology data, data generated by sensors, by machinery, and all those things. but also operational data, how we organize everything, how we address proactive maintenance, for example, how we plan maintenance, how we schedule things, how we allocate resources, all the way up to the business level, where we have goals and ambitions and KPIs. Everything needs to be coming together into one unified ecosystem. And that requires a major transformation. And that's what this is all about. And you can see it very easily. If you take a little bit of a distance, you can see we have that digitized environment. And it's about cloud services that are available. It's about sensors, it's about connectivity, it's about data centers, and a lot of other technology. And you see already this technology is evolving faster and faster and faster, okay? So you feel already that you need a certain level of agility there to work with that. This is used everywhere. I could have added probably a gazillion other types of examples, whether it's about digital signage, whether it's about machinery or energy management, or maybe road or traffic management, for example, emergency response, air quality, solar, you name it, okay? Everything in our world is now connected, is generating data, and we can do things with it. Irrespective if you're a city, a community, a campus, a company, or you're in the industry, it doesn't really matter. It's always the same principle. But again, we do it in a world that is evolving very, very fast. Nobody can predict what is going to happen in the coming months and the coming years. You cannot predict that in terms of how the technology is going to evolve. You cannot predict that in terms of the political landscape and the economical landscape, the competitive landscape, for example, the business models that you have to apply. Again, it's all about, being able to survive in that new type of environment. This is really going from the branch into that open sky and being able to flourish there. And if you look at it, you can ask the question, you can say, hey, are you digitally transformed? Can we really say, today I'm ready for that new world? In that new world, there will be continuous evolution also, as there was evolution before that. But we're talking about a fundamental breaking point where we say, okay, we rewire everything, the way we think, the way we act, the way we build an organization, the way we build the technology infrastructure, and we move into that data-driven mindset. Can you actually say you have achieved that? That's the first question. Now, if you ask me, can you say that you're digitally transformed? If I need to answer that with one word, it's agile. It's about agility, because that's the core essence of the future. As an organization, whatever you are, if you're a smart city, an airport, or whatever it is, you will face the same challenges. Everything is data-driven. Everything is moving very, very fast. The political landscape, the economical landscape, the competitive landscape, the opportunities you have, the technology, everything is continuously in flux. So the only quality that you need that is so key essential is agility. Ability to accelerate, decelerate, change directions on the fly. And that requires a lot of effort, because that really impacts everything from the way a company is organized to how you build your technology stack and all those things. But that's the single answer that I can give you if I need to answer it in one single word. If I can expand it, I would say an agile, data-driven powerhouse focusing on creative value delivery. Agile, again, ready to expect the unexpected, the ability to accelerate, decelerate, change direction in any way that you can imagine, whether it's business models or technology. That's the key quality. It will be data-driven. Data is no longer the oil, it's actually the soil. Every organization, every company or entity will be embedded and rooted into data. Data is what is going to make it happen. So that's one of the most valuable things that you have. How can you capitalize on that data? How can you make that data available to move very, very quickly? And last but not least, focusing on creative value delivery, because this is a technology world with so much options and so much opportunity, but it's very easy to spend a lot of time without having any outcomes, okay? So how can you bring yourself into a position where you can say, the limited time and resources that I have, because that's always limited, how can I make sure I can convert that into actual value for the security, for the well-being, for the cost efficiency, whatever your goals or your ambitions may be, and whatever the priorities are for your entity at that point in time. So creative value delivery means whatever time I need to spend on worrying about security, worrying about data storage, worrying about phasing out systems and bringing other systems in is a wasted time, okay? It's wasted time and it's wasted effort and it's wasted money. You want to limit and focus your resources on the creativity, the ability for you to really tap into the full potential of being a smart city, being a smart manufacturer, doing fleet ops or energy ops, and focusing your energy on converting as much of your time and resources that are limited into real value, innovation, savings, and all of those things. So that's the key essence. Everybody and everything is becoming that. And it's not that difficult to realize, and sometimes people forget a little bit about that, but what is the thing that sets you apart? There's only, a limited number of things that will set you apart from anybody else out there. And it's not the technology, because everybody has access to the technology. It's about your data. It's about your control capabilities and your people and the agility around it to do innovation, to create workflows, and to really be creative to leverage it to the full benefit of your organization. Again, whatever the priorities are: security, cost savings, operational efficiency, innovation, new business models. It will all boil down to you leveraging that specific environment. So it's not about being the first to apply a new technology, because you can apply a new technology in a very cost inefficient way. It's about your flexibility and your ability to tap into the things that set you apart, that make you unique. And for that, you need to build that agile organization that can be data-driven. It's your data, you own it, you leverage it, and you tap into it. And I think everybody already realizes that, more or less. Because again, in the digital age, we kind of started adding a lot of systems, and I could have added a million other examples here. A digital signage package or software or cloud service or whatever it may be. Some software for my solar energy, some software for my building security, some software specifically from all the machinery I have from certain manufacturers, 2 to 3 different packages. And I know that a lot of people have already been struggling the last 5 to 10 years and spending a lot of time and energy, like, I need to bring this together. I need to have that unified ecosystem. And everybody knows that, more or less, you need a next generation data-driven architecture. You need to kind of like, hey, how can I bring that data easily together with not too much effort and headaches about security and complexity? How can I bring that into a unified environment so I don't have to care whether I work with digital signage vendor A and tomorrow with vendor B because they have a better proposition or a newer technology or greater capabilities? I want to be able to bring that in as painless, as effortless as possible, but in a way that I don't have to manage this as a separate entity or separate pocket or separate silo. And the data from that digital signage could, be leveraged in a context, for example, of my security or other types of environments. How can I connect these things together? How can I build standard functions and bring everything together? But, having said that, why are so many organizations actually failing? And it's not that difficult if you look at it. On one hand, there's the bespoke solutions, and we already talked about that, okay? In the digital era, we were investing in pockets, and people kind of started thinking about, hey, we need to unify, we need to bring this together. There's a bigger picture here. There's a lot more value here. So let's start connecting things together. And again, I'll go into detail. That's not the way forward. But then on the other hand, what are the other options? A custom stack solution. Okay, there's a lot of great technologies out there that you can use even on demand in the cloud, but you have to build the complete stack. And it's your stack. It's your environment. You have to engineer it. You have to build it or get a contractor to build and design it and to maintain that and to evolve that. And we call that the custom stack solution. Now, both options are not really viable. Bespoke point solutions, very short. I don't believe in it, in the sense that it's a questionable path of evolution. And again, we go through a transformation and we think we're going to evolve the caterpillar into a butterfly. You will not. It's kind of like saying, that's my new iPhone over there. It performs all the functions that it did in the past, and I kind of put it together, and that's my new iPhone, my new smartphone. No, it isn't. Okay, this is about fundamentally redefining things. So it's a very questionable path. We've seen a lot of organizations trying this. You still have isolated silos. You still have data locked into different environments. It's still extremely difficult to kind of move data and workflows around. It's not fully aligned with your personal goals and ambitions. It stifles the innovation. You could have a great idea, but it's just way too expensive, too cumbersome, too difficult to make it happen across all those different environments. Again, it is an evolutionary path. I don't think it really is a good fit for a transformation. The better vision is, of course, to build that custom stack and to say, hey, We do understand this. We want to consolidate data and bring everything together. But what we need to realize is that a lot of these technologies are designed by the biggest organizations in the world, you know, and it is already questionable to what extent it's really aligned with your specific needs. It's kind of me going to a contractor who built the Burj Khalifa in Dubai and to contract him to build the same foundation because I'm going to build a house. That doesn't make sense, okay? You will see that these kind of projects have a lot of similarities with software development. It's about design and security and scaling, and it's about going into a project where halfway through the project you realize that, you know, there's new technology and you can start ripping out the first pieces and start replacing them. It's a very time-consuming and very expensive proposition. And at the end of the day, whatever time you spend on building and designing and evolving this is a waste of time, because at the end of the day, it's only going to get you to the point that you can actually start investing in the real use cases and the real value. So this is a very, very tricky proposition. Now, of course, you could wonder, what is so different then about xOps? Okay, what is the xOps proposition all about? Well, very simple. DataMiner xOps is a solution designed specifically, purpose designed with all the outcomes in mind that you need to be an agile, data-driven organization with a lot of agility where you can focus all your creative power and capabilities on leveraging your data. Okay, I'm not going to go through this because we don't have enough time, and I just want to emphasize that we're of course available to go in depth on any of these topics. But an xOps proposition is really, in all its gazillion features and capabilities, it's very thoughtfully designed to enable those specific things that are needed to build an agile, data-driven organization. It's all about making sure that you own your data, that you can leverage your data, that you can be unique in the sense that you can design and innovate on your own in that full potential of that new world, that you can be a creator together with your builder, that you're contracting and work and collaborate together. So it's really a transformational type of environment. Now, if you look at it, it's not that difficult in the sense that on one hand, you have the out-of-the-box solutions. On the other hand, you have the do-it-yourself, the custom data-driven stack. Over here, when you look at xOps, it's kind of making sure that you're in that exact sweet spot, because being able to do it yourself is very important in the future. You need to leverage your data, your innovation, your agility, your ability to set yourself apart from anybody else, to do your cost savings, to drive your efficiency, improve your security, So you need to have those abilities, but you don't want to have and spend the time on security and databases and scaling and all of those things. So xOps is really in the center here, where we maximize agility and we have a significantly lower total cost of ownership. And maybe one more way to look at it, it's also very simple and straightforward. xOps is all about taking whatever your core business is, whether you're renting out offices or you're delivering consultancy and expertise around cooling and heating, or you're a system builder for smart cities with all kinds of digital solutions and systems. You take that core business and you bring it together with the key qualities of a software cloud ICT world, continuous evolution, data-driven and all that, and you become an xOps entity of what you used to be. You transform yourself into energy as a service, and energy ops, for example, or similar to DevOps and SecOps and FinOps and all the other ops that we see emerging in the industry. You become an xOps entity. Now, DataMiner itself, what is it going to do? Okay, the simple answer is, as I said already, number one, fast track your digital transformation. Make it happen very, very quickly, as efficiently and as in terms of timing and in terms of cost, and making sure that you get yourself into a position of being an agile, data-driven company, actually, because whatever you do in terms of digital transformation, it's wasted time and energy. It serves at no purpose, and that's the big drawback of custom data stack solutions, okay? Number two, it is going to allow you to generate unparalleled value towards your goals. So once you are in that position, you can really start focusing on that creative value delivery. I have manufacturing facilities. What are my challenges? My challenges are people leaving after half a year or a year. They no longer work for me for 5 or 10 years. I cannot retain their knowledge and their expertise to set up everything to do a maximum efficient production. Let's find a solution for that. Or how can I make sure that, in a very flexible market, energy market, how can I make sure I can really benefit from all the advantages that I can have, like negative electricity prices, energy prices, and how can I make sure that I don't pay too much when, for example, energy is very expensive. So there's all kinds of solutions for that. That's what you want to focus on. That's what's going to differentiate you from other people and others. And how do we generate that value? Okay, once we get that digital transformation done, once we want to start generating value, well, DataMiner does that together. Us, you, and any solution builders that you involve, we empower ourselves to generate that value. We give the tools and the capabilities to take an ID and make it a reality as fast and as efficiently as possible. And I'll show you exactly a few examples of how that's done. But that's what DataMiner is all about. How can we go from a concept and an ID as quickly as possible towards a value and prove that value, make sure that we can measure that value and go through the next iterations? Because that's the second thing, very important, continuous evolution. We live in a world that is going to move faster and faster and faster. Again, politics, competitive landscape, the technology that is available, everything is moving. So you have to basically have the ability to continuously reevaluate. What is my next big opportunity to gain efficiency, to optimize my production, for example, to make my city feel more safer? I mean, people are giving me feedback that they don't feel safe in my city and my environment. There's tons of things that you can do with smart ecosystems to make people feel more safe, for example. Those are goals and ambitions. You want to continuously evaluate what your options are and implement and get them done. That's a key strategic pillar towards the future. And last but not least, dealing with challenges by design. Again, DataMiner will focus on making sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you don't have to worry too much about complexity, data storage, scaling, security, and all those things that are basically a wasted time because it's infrastructure and you don't really need to do that. Now, let's take a closer look on how that looks like. And it kind of looks like, that picture that we saw earlier, but everything starts, of course, with data collection and control plane. And pay attention, data collection and control. That's already very unique in the DataMiner system. You can collect data, get insights, do monitoring and all those things, but you also have control capabilities. That's very vital. I always say data and control in dynamic environments, they're two sides of the same coin. And it's a very rare quality or capability that you find in this kind of platforms. But DataMiner has been like this forever and has been a key differentiator. Now, of course, it starts with the ability to integrate any technology from any vendor, okay? Whatever machines or digital signage or sensors or databases or cloud services you have, DataMiner gives you the ability to bring all that data from all those different environments into that unified platform. And DataMiner really outperforms any other solution in the market. You can take it from very legacy type of interfaces, old machinery or old systems, RS-232, 485, Modbus, etc., all the way to, very fancy new types of interfaces and protocols, whatever it is. It is a guarantee. A DataMiner is proven with over 8,000. We have a full catalog. You can visit online and see those. Over 8,000 integrations. But not only that, it has an open architecture. Anybody, Skyline can do it for you. You can do it yourself. Your system solution builder can do it. Everybody can build new integrations. And again, quick and efficient. That's the key every time. Everything that you can do should be open and capable of doing it very quickly, very, very efficiently. And that's where DataMiner has been proven again and again and again to be a very, very superior solution. Then, of course, once the data comes in, what happens with the data? And sometimes people talk about data lakes and all that kind of things. And I've seen projects where people kind of put all the data into a large database. That's not the solution, okay? When you look in the memory of a DataMiner system, actually what you find in there is a very well-structured digital twin. As a matter of fact, DataMiner is creating a digital twin of your entire ecosystem. It's bringing in all the data not only bringing it in, but unifying it, standardizing it in a way that I have a unified view across the entire operation. So in other words, whatever data you have, whatever the source is today, tomorrow, or the day after, it doesn't really matter. DataMiner integrates with anything that you can imagine. And you can see a part of a screen in the DataMiner system here. But whether it's my building access control system, for example, my building management, my curtains, my heating, my ventilation, my humidification, my LED lighting, a sensor for the ambient light, how much sunlight there is, digital signage, IP, IT, you name it, everything, electrical charging, electrical vehicles, everything that you can imagine is basically in there, unified, standardized, and secure. And that's the foundation of it. But that's not where it stops, okay? Because as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, if you want to digitize your entire operation, you need to go beyond that, okay? It's not only about the sensors and the data. We are people, we are organizations, we are entities that need to organize ourselves. So typically, if you want to do that, you have operational kind of capabilities. Something is wrong, I need to assign a resource, I need to do proactive maintenance, I need to provide support, I need to provide tickets to track it, I need to schedule things, I need to plan things, I need to, map out buildings or floors, for example, and floors could also have properties. So it's beyond the sensors. It's also about the entire environment and the metadata that describes the environment and the properties of that environment. Now, DataMiner has a very powerful capability that allows you to model that in a very, again, that's always key, very quick and efficient way. And there's no limitations there. You could come up with a concept or a first idea that nobody ever thought of. You would be able to design that in DataMiner yourself. So you can model the entire operation, and you can do the same for all the business. Contracts, customers, SLAs, engagements that you have, rate cards, price books, inventory, assets, billing, KPIs, goals, service plans, whatever it is. You can create and design and model that all in that system. So, and that's very important, because then you really start having that unified digital twin, a unified digital twin that kind of captures your entire ecosystem, whatever it is. Again, smart cities, transportation hubs, a bunch of offices, that seaports, etc. You can fully digitize those and bring those into a unified environment. And at the end of the day, me as an engineer and a user, I don't care where the data is coming from. I have that unified, secure capability where I can start doing workflows and processes and automation and a lot of data and control consumption. One of the good examples is, for example, our low-code apps. The ability to create all kinds of user interfaces in a low-code, again, very efficient, very quick, low-code way. Anybody can be involved in the design process, but I can basically now look at everybody in the organization, my management people, my team leads, my people on the factory floor, my people on the road in a car, and I can basically take any data from that environment, from that digital twin, and create a new experience for them. An app tailored towards their tasks, their responsibilities. And whether it's your phone number or a ticket status or a work order or a temperature or a water level, it doesn't matter. It's all there, and I can bring it together. And just a quick example, we see an example here of a ticketing system, and I chose this one because everybody can imagine what a ticket is. But again, we can do anything, yeah? It's open data modeling. We can model anything that we want. But you can see a ticket here where I can open up and I can see the actual live data from the live equipment or the live infrastructure that is being affected. As soon as I go to the list and I look at one of those tickets, you will see, this is entirely created in low code, but I can bring in the live data already from, let's say, the live environment. And again, in the past, if you have point solutions and ticketing solutions and a building management system, those things are not connected. It's going to cost you a lot of time and effort to do something as simple as this. And again, this is all low code. I don't need programmers. There is no ticketing system in DataMiner, but somebody created tickets. Somebody created a ticketing app, and you can see an example here of how somebody now changes that app and says, hey, that person can gain a lot of time if he can quickly contact the different people in the organization. And he can go in and he can add new pages to that environment, 24/7 support, IT support, or whatever it may be. And I can go and choose from a bunch of widgets. I can choose, for example, from all the digital twin. Everything is there, from your phone number to a contract number to a live metric, the output of a machine, anything that I want, I can drag and drop it and bring it together. And I just use a graphical presentation, and immediately you will see it's already live updated. I can duplicate it. I can see it over time. I can do alarming on it, and I can do so many different things. So this is really a canvas where I can use my all the data from my digital twin and start painting the perfect picture for whoever is out there and how they want to work. And again, easy continuous evolution. As you can see, I edit this. I get automatically a new version, which is only used by me. My colleagues are still using the production version, but whenever I'm ready and I'm validating the new version, the update that I did literally in 5 or 10 minutes, and I can put that into production. If I'm not happy, I can switch it back in no time. So this is a quick example, these low-code apps that are kind of unleashing creativity, fast, efficient, and allowing you to really tap into the full potential of that unified digital twin. And of course, it's about a lot more than these things, okay? I would highly recommend you, if you're interested, to have a full tour of all the functions and capabilities of DataMiner. It's about collaboration. I can go to Microsoft Teams and I can pull any data from the digital twin just by typing and requesting it. I don't need a user-definable app. We can do platform-to-platform integration with user-defined APIs, quick and fast. What used to take multiple weeks with a lot of security concerns can literally be done in half an hour in a DataMiner xOps platform. It's about having standard off-the-shelf LLM integrations where I can start using natural language to interact with my unified digital twin out of the box. It's about augmented operation and having the ability to do automatic forecasting or anomaly detections, and all those capabilities, they come out of the box. And that's what matters in an xOps world, having all those things available out of the box without headaches and without concerns. Now, just to kind of give you an idea of different use cases in different environments, but pay attention, as I said, and I hope you see that, but it's not about the use cases. The use cases today are not going to be the use cases tomorrow. Nobody can predict those. And as a matter of fact, if I need freedom and the ability to create, I want to have freedom on the use case level, because that's where I will differentiate myself from my competitors. I don't want to have an out-of-the-box type of software with fixed use cases, because that's what everybody has. The creativity lies in how you use that unified ecosystem. And let me give you some examples, because again, we've been already on a journey. We've had already quite some successful projects in smart cities, seaports, factories, transportation. And again, I put some examples in there, but this is not relevant because tomorrow there's going to be new stuff around. Smarter sensors, new capabilities, new cameras, etc. It's all about how can I bring myself into a position where I can start leveraging all that stuff quickly and efficiently and gain the real competitive edge from that. Now, let's get started. Our campus over here, what you see there is Skyline. We have those two buildings, T1, T2, that parking lot over there. And I already gave you a glimpse of how we have everything in there. Building access control, curtains, heating, ventilation, humidification. You can actually see an alarm message over there, which was actually a true situation because some people actually started complaining about headaches. And, that's the result, for example, of the humidity that was not okay. LED lighting, a sensor to measure, the sunlight that is coming in, digital signage all over the facilities and the buildings in different locations, energy management, energy sensors, water sensors, electrical vehicle charging, etc. Everything is full of data. And this is a very simple example to start with. But as a matter of fact, there's a lot of use cases. This is an example, for example, where you can see water consumption, which is going to unusual levels. And this was a defect on a fountain, for example, over here in the facility. But that was immediately picked up by the AI capabilities of DataMiner. DataMiner immediately said, hey, there is a very unusual behavior in that water consumption level. And over here, you can see how DataMiner forecasts the energy consumption in these office facilities. This was probably on a Thursday. This is a Friday. This is a weekend. So DataMiner learns about that behavior and does all those things. So, and these are some of the basics, okay? But to give you an example, we have already that digitized environment here. But in this company, for example, we started switching all our company vehicles to electrical vehicles, okay? That's new data, a new environment, and that's a key example. And let's zoom in on that a little bit. Because you could think, okay, introducing electrical vehicles, no problem. It's all about managing that dynamic environment. Immediately, there were questions about, oh, okay, if people charge at the company is paying for it. If you charge at home, the company needs to reimburse that. How is the company going to measure how much people are charging at different locations and what portions need to be reimbursed? It's about lowering charging costs through gamification, for example, because there's a very high variability in terms of the cost for charging cars, depending on where you do it and when you do it and all of that. How can you engage with a community with all these electrical vehicles to make sure that people do it in a mindful way, for example? It's about car policies. You can have a car policy, similar like a security policy in your company, but how do you make sure that a policy is being applied? And that again is resulting in use cases. How do you avoid inefficiencies or defects on cars? How do you avoid unexpected expenses? Those happen. Some charging stations, they do charge an additional cost if you stay at a charging station while you're already fully charged. So you can't leave it there overnight. But that's not being done everywhere. How do you manage that? And there's a whole range of kind of different types of use cases that immediately starts emerging. Now, you could invest in a point solution. There are solutions out there that start doing that. But number one, it's going to siphon your revenue, okay? Your opportunity to innovate. Why? Because people that sell that kind of service as a cloud service, for example, they know very well how much you're going to be saving on this. The estimated saving is whatever, 20 euro per month per car. Okay, we're going to charge 15. It's still interesting for you. You don't own your data. You don't own your use cases. In this environment, it was pretty simple, okay? We went forward. We said, okay, we need to interface with payroll, with all the different brands of cars, and we will have different more brands of cars coming in with different APIs in the future. We need to interface with charging stations. We need to interface with the Shell API, which is the charging card that people used to go around. We need to get real-time pricing from the internet. So we need to bring in all that data. Again, data acquisition, being able to bring the data into that digital twin. In addition to the digital data, or the data, the live operational data, it's also about how do we organize this? You have people that drive cars, you have charging sessions, you have that entire operational and business perspective. In no time, you can model that entire ecosystem in DataMiner. And to give you one example, immediately, once you have that digital twin in place, you start building low-code apps, okay? Code app for my HR, to kind of indicate, who is out here in the company and who has a company car. You could have contracts and rate cards, for the finance people. And then you can have a fleet management solution. These are, again, low-code apps. You could have built that yourself. And it gives you the ability to go in and to make a full inventory overview and come up with use cases like, over here, it's more like an inventory overview with details about charging and how much at home, how much at on the road, how much fast charging, which is more expensive. You can start checking policies, for example. You can do analysis, cost analysis, and pinpoint where there could be potential problems, for example, by adding a little bit of intelligence. Automatic calculations of recharge or reimbursements, for example. Who is charging at home, and how do you identify that somebody is charging at home? All of that is wrapped into this. Every single use case is wrapped into this very quickly and efficiently. Now, it's not only about the fact that you don't have to pay for a point solution again and again and again, because this is only one point solution. I showed you Skyline Campus is full of data and information. But you can go ahead and imagine a lot of things. It's about car policies. It's about different charging sessions. Over here, you can see a map where you have all the different charging poles, and you can see which ones are available. But we also have digital signage, and we haven't done that yet. But if it would be needed to say, for example, hey, we want to show where different charging stations are available, you would be able to do that, just by putting in digital, information. And again, in this context, for example, we don't track where cars are, okay? Drivers would have to give their consent for that, but there's no use cases or, applications for us. But the next company could be like, well, I actually have cars that do deliveries, okay? I need to track them. Are you going to invest again in another point solution and you're going to have some kind of fleet management solution to track routes and all that? No, you can do that in the same environment. You can start mapping the different locations. As a matter of fact, over here, you can see an example. These little things over here are different sites with cameras. This is also integrated with the camera security system. So the operator, if a truck is driving out, to a certain location, I can actually, for a certain operator, I can say, hey, for me, for his role, for his function, it's relevant to see the location and to see the vehicle, but also to have quick access, to cameras on that construction site to be able to kind of view that. So this is about blending data together, and you will see that's where all the benefits are, being able to blend data together into a single unified environment. And again, this is only one of the use cases, and there's continuously new use cases within the fleet management, but within the entire campus. And the technology will evolve, the environment will evolve, and all of those things. And it's about well-being, it's about cost saving. Anything that you can imagine in the future is all about data and leveraging that data. Now, that was a simple one, and we have a lot of more simple things like a smart park, for example, with smart lights and smart waste bins, calculating, and making sure that people go and collect garbage only when they need to collect it, or controlling the smart lights, for example, in the context of security and making sure it's more dynamic, or reducing the cost of the expenditure in terms of energy. So all those things can be designed, bringing all of the data together into one digital twin. Of course, DataMiner is a quite capable system. It has been around for a long time, managing the most mission-critical systems around the world. And in that sense, of course, it's also capable of managing any underlying technology. If you use satellite, for example, you can see an app over here. This app is managing a complete Starlink network. So if you have manufacturing facilities across Europe or across the world, and you have a private network, for example, across, for example, a Starlink network, you can just plug that data in and you have all that information available of all the terminals, the data, and all of those things. And again, very similar for any other type of technology, 5G, data centers, compute, networking, it all fits into that same digital twin. Now, this is another example. This is a company that is building these smart modular homes, okay? And you can see the factory in the background. But they are very ambitious. They are very ambitious in terms of being able to deliver a product that has zero energy dependence, zero water dependence, and zero waste residual, triple net zero. And it's fully loaded with sensors. So it's, again, like any other environment, a real data-driven environment. But again, it's about how can you capitalize on that? How can you make sure that you can make that happen? And here you see an example where all those sensors are brought together. Somebody created already a user-definable app in a very quick way. And you can drill down, see the water usage, for example, or you can see the electrical usage, the energy. You can drill down, you can see, for example, over here over time. And again, you can choose whatever graphical presentations you want. You can see the different flows, the different consumers. And again, it's all about use cases and how do you make things more intelligent. Over here, for example, you can see all the different sensors and all their different statuses. And more importantly, over here, and again, it's about not only the technology, over here you have something called activities. Activities are kind of, an operational aspect of it. Some things are happening. Things are happening because the systems respond to certain environment and variables. People are doing something, they actually kind of switch something on or something off, or actually DataMiner is doing things, okay? Amongst those activities that you saw there, maybe it was a little quick, but there's DataMiner activities as well. So if DataMiner sees certain things happening in the environment and it can tweak it and fine tune it, it has that control capability to go in there. And in the activities that we saw there, you can actually see everything happening in that home, and we can fine tune it and tweak it and make it more intelligent. Of course, it's sometimes about more critical applications. If you look at smart cities, for example, this is an example of a smart city builder. This is a company that builds systems. In Australia, they have installed all these, public address systems. So these are kind of boards where you display a message. It's about on 48 intersections in 10 different zones across the entire Sydney area. And it's basically for the government to bring special emergency messages there. There's about, close to 100 different public announcements. Stay at work, do this, do that. You would think, okay, this is a simple board, but there's so much that goes into it. It's part of that smart city, and even that, it's about monitoring, it's about configuration management. And DataMiner actually has the abilities also to enhance this again, okay? Because imagine, for example, that you can control the brightness on something like this, but the unit itself would not have a sensor to automatically adapt to the ambient light. Well, you could actually control the brightness of the screens automatically if needed. Is it better that this unit would do it itself? Yes, by all means. And maybe the previous generation didn't do it and the next generation will do it, whatever. Okay, if needed, with DataMiner and the control capabilities, I can make that happen. I can make it smarter. I can make it more intelligent. I can start thinking about putting in a schedule, for example, to schedule certain messages at certain times. In this case, for example, they do group control, so that they can easily go to a different or a specific zone in the city, and basically select that zone and automatically control all the boards in there. It's about proactive factory resets. It's about updates. It's about so many different things on a very, very simple public address system. And again, this is only a small portion of a real digital smart city. And again, there will be use cases where that information could be combined with other information out there to really evolve and say, hey, we need to enhance the security, we need to enhance the well-being, let's leverage this type of environment to make that happen. Again, it's about the creativity and your freedom to be able to innovate together with the builders of your ecosystems. This is another example, and I'm kind of going from very simple Skyline campus to a fleet management solution to a public address system. This is even more mission critical. This is part of Sydney Trains in Australia again, where they basically put in an entire new system. And it's quite impressive if you see all the details for station announcements. So announcements on all the different platforms across different stations across the whole broader Sydney area. It has about 6,000 distributed technology assets, so different technology pieces that are installed at different locations. And this system is running about 8,000 announcements per day. Very quickly, it's just to give you a little bit of a high-level sense of what this is. 178 stations plus another 63 stations. It's managed from the OCDN, which is the Operations Critical Data Center. And basically, it's for public announcements, it's for Wi-Fi access, and a lot of other things. But you can see DataMiner creates that entire digital twin, digitizes all that diverse technology from different vendors and brings it together into that one ecosystem, provides that single pane of glass, very easy to use graphical user interfaces. These are basics in DataMiner, okay? The ability to do day-to-day system health monitoring, proactive management and maintenance. But again, you can take your operational and your business and your scheduling and your planning and kind of bring that in there. And again, it has a lot of benefits and people do a lot of smart things. But these are kind of the basics where you can go and you can drill down different locations, see all the different announcements and all that. And people do smart things, okay? They integrate all their documentation, for example, all the information out there. And DataMiner is actually even automating all the announcements. So over here, you can see automated delivery of platform announcements. These are platform announcements, the announcement history, and the ability for operators to just click and intervene and to do more of an ad hoc operator-initiated announcement. But again, it's not a bespoke solution to do that. It's built in a completely data-driven way, in a very agile way. So this allows people to be creative, to look at integrating with train schedules, for example, and do all those things. Kind of like this example where they said, hey, it's not only about the well-being and a good service for people that are on the platform waiting for a train. You can imagine during peak hour, if you do announcements on a platform and you live next door, it's not really going to bother you. But if you do an announcement in the middle of the night or very late in the evening, and when everything is more quiet outdoors, it's going to be more disturbing for the people living in that vicinity. So DataMiner is automatically controlling the sound levels depending on the ambient noise, for example, and dynamically adapting that. It's a small use case, but it's all about what are our goals? We want to deliver the best possible service to the people that are traveling, but also people that live there, for example. Small ideas that can be converted in reality. And again, that's what you see. Being innovative, thinking about these things and creating and designing. And that's what the future is all about, okay? And again, we can have a lot of information. I just want to, for sake of time, kind of move forward a little bit because I have other great examples. I really love the example of Noven. Why? Because Noven it's a bunch of very talented people, okay? And they're experts in cooling and heating and solar panels and all of that. And usually what do these people do? They go to market and they are consultants, advisors, okay? If somebody builds a building, they would get hired to design all the heating and the cooling and the solar management systems. It's basically the owner that would make the investment and runs the installation afterwards. You're simply a consultant. They said, well, we're going to do it differently. Think as a service. We go to owners of building and we say, hey, you don't have to worry about this. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take full responsibility to put all those systems in there. We're going to make the decisions on the design and which equipment we need and which systems we need and all of that. And we're going to put everything in that building. And you basically buy cooling and heating and energy as a service from us. It's kind of like the Uber concept, of course. And they have been very successful. Okay, it's not only an ultimate convenience for the owners of infrastructure, but it's also very impactful towards the environment, for example, because these guys run that infrastructure far more efficient and than anybody else. Once you own a building, yeah, not many people really take care of that. So they went to market and started working on that. And today they have over 6,000 units across the country where they have all these installations. And these installations is external supply, energy, water, gas, solar panels, of course, renewable energy certificates. Okay, so that's more a digital asset, very important. Heat pumps, combined heat and power systems, and EV charging stations, etc. They collect data from dynamic, energy prices that are coming from the internet, the online day-ahead pricing, and all of that. So a lot of kind of auxiliary data that comes into that digital twin, and they leverage DataMiner. They leverage DataMiner, actually DataMiner as a service, to basically convert that environment into a real energy as a service environment, an environment where they collect all that data. And they do tons of things. Again, the usual things like, okay, big advantage already, single pane of glass, single digital twin. We can see everything in a unified, secure environment. We can do day-to-day monitoring. We can become more proactive. We don't have to go check on site every little system, the health and the status of that system. No, we can do that more proactively. We can streamline maintenance procedures. You would be able to say even, hey, as part of my operations, I have 5 guys doing maintenance or this or that, or external partners. I'm going to digitize the workflows to create tickets, for example, or work orders, and basically track that automatically with the data from the buildings blended into that. Huge opportunities. One of the things I really like is the really creative things that I have seen. I'm not an expert in this domain, but for example, they had problems when they were doing those technical installations during the build phase, that some of the systems that they put in place get damaged by other contractors in the building. And unless you go and inspect everything continuously, you will have damage. So basically they install cheap sensors on their systems to be able to detect damage on pressure, etc. And they can leave the site. And immediately when other contractors would cause damage on their systems, they can basically identify that. And even more intelligently, I kind of like this one as well, is where they said, hey, at a certain point in time, in Belgium, for example, prices for energy can go negative. And in a lot of places in the world, this is happening. When there's a lot of sunlight, and there's a lot of wind, and there's a lot of production, energy prices can actually go negative. And in that case, in every single building, you need hot water. And hot water is, they warm it up with electricity. You might as well do it when energy prices are negative, because you're going to have a double win. You will get money, to consume the energy, and at the same time, you produce hot water. So that's a dynamic environment. But as with any example, again, any opportunity will always disappear. And I'm pretty sure that those negative prices are going to balance out as all these environments are evolving and everybody's kind of picking up on that and becoming more dynamic. So it's not about the ability to do that. It's about the ability to do it quickly, to do it efficiently. And again, that's a good example of a use case that we see here. But again, the use cases of today, they're definitely not going to be the use cases that we will see tomorrow. And I kind of like the screens also here because some people may recognize this. This is Grafana dashboards. Does DataMiner have dashboards? Yes, similar to the low-code apps, fancy dashboards with all kinds of capabilities. But we haven't really zoomed in on that. But that's the data consumption layer where we say we should not have a locked-in environment. If people like Grafana and they like other tools or Power BI, or you want to have information in Teams, you need to be able to kind of provide information very easily and convenient to different people through different channels and all of that. That's part of the DataMiner design, the ability to bring that information. One last example maybe then, because I didn't touch really on industrial, and there's so many things that we could touch on, so I had to be very selective. But over there, of course, there's also huge opportunities. We're moving, again, industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Actually, 4.0 is all about agility and flexibility, okay? In the past, it was about efficiency and consistency. Now it's about agility. And that's what I've been talking about, okay? So in these types of environment, I have a good example here of a company, PwC, and everybody knows them as a consultancy organization. And this is about production ops, okay? And these are really smart and clever people that go out to the manufacturing industry, and they basically provide consultancy on how they can optimize and digitize their operation. Now, this is a solution that they selected where they said, hey, we can either build a proprietary point solution, which is going to take a lot of time and energy, and it's going to be a fixed thing. Okay, while we see that every manufacturing environment is different data sources, different environments, and we don't want to build a custom stack solution. So basically what you see here as an example is that they capture and digitize with DataMiner that entire manufacturing environment, whatever it may be, because there's a lot of different types of manufacturing environments. It's really set up for continuous improvement. How can we basically gain efficiency and do things better? How can we optimize the quality and the output of the production? And by leveraging data and striving towards excellence. And again, the example is the same. You see a low-code app. It's like any other app that I've shown you so far, whether it's a smart city, the EV charging environment, it's all the same. And I could actually take data from all those different environments and blend it together. But this is an environment where you have a very simple to use app where, for a production run, you can choose, for example, hey, what kind of products are we going to use from different suppliers? That's more operational type of data. What kind of supplies are we using? Which products from which vendor? Because the different products that you use could have an impact on the efficiency depending on the environment variables, okay? Maybe for product A or B, for example, it could be, that we need to do it faster or slower at a higher temperature or lower pressure or whatever it may be. But what you can see, which is more interesting here, is that over here you can see all those different golden batches. And these are basically data that is being captured by DataMiner in the manufacturing environment. So for every production run, DataMiner captures all the data about all the environmental variables, the temperature, the pressure, the machines, etc., the settings, the operator, the products that are being used. And people can label something like this as a golden batch, like, hey, we just did a run, and that was actually very, very good, very good outcome, very high quality, good efficiency, or whatever it may be. Again, the variables don't really matter. It's about the concept. But you can see, for example, here then how you have the ability to build an app and to pull up all that data and to do things like, for example, over here, a live production where you can say we have all the live information, all the live metrics. See over here, for example, in batch, how did that one specific variable across that entire production, which was so good, which is really an example of how it should be done, how did it evolve over time, and how is the actual one currently evolving, for example? And you can do that for different variables. You can see also over here, for example, you can show if there's any deltas with current settings, for example, and again, taking into account that large data set with all those references and all that information. Again, I'm oversimplifying it because I'm not an expert. Actually, this is a concept and an expertise of our partner. Again, it's their expertise to deliver that kind of solutions. But again, it's to show you how a powerful xOps platform can say, hey, let's take your operation and make it a real agile data-driven environment. Because tomorrow, if new information comes in or if new data is available, we can blend it in, we can evolve this solution together with the partner and make this happen very, very quickly. So I'm going to have to wrap it up because we're already a little bit over time. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse at what smart ecosystems are, and especially also show you not only the use cases that we are currently doing today, but trying to explain what the real essence is, okay? How important it is for everybody, smart cities, smart airports, smart seaports, manufacturing facilities, whatever you are, you need to become a unified, living and breathing, data-driven environment, okay? An environment that can say, I don't really care what's going to happen in the world in terms of the economics or politics or technological evolutions or business models, because I have the agility, the organization, the DataMiner xOps stack to basically work with my team, evaluate where the opportunities are, improving our security, driving efficiency, whatever the goals may be and the priorities, and we can look for the opportunities and we can make it happen. And whatever happens, whatever opportunities come, we will be the first to really fully capitalize on them in a very easy, efficient, and quick way, and basically move on to the next opportunity. Because essentially, that's what everything revolves around for everybody in the future, any organization, any entity. And that's why we call it, xOps, converting your environment into an ops business. If you're interested, reach out to us. Builders, owners of smart ecosystems will happily do deep dives. There's so much more that we can tell you and show you. But I just wanted to bring across the key message of what is DataMiner xOps and what can it do in smart ecosystem environments. Thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.